The First Contact. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the helm of the ESS Curiosity, Earth's most advanced research vessel, as it approached the edge of the Oort cloud. The ship's quantum sensors had detected something unprecedented, a massive surge of organized energy that defied all known natural phenomena. "Commander, we're picking up structured data packets now," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station, dark eyes fixed on the holographic display. They're being broadcast on every frequency we can detect." Sarah's heart raced, but her voice remained steady. "Analysis. It's mathematics, Commander. Pure mathematics. Prime numbers, geometric sequences, and what appears to be a universal translation key." Rodriguez's voice trembled with excitement. "This is no natural phenomenon." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. After centuries of searching the stars, humanity had finally received proof they weren't alone. But something was odd about this contact. The signal was coming from multiple directions simultaneously, as if Earth was surrounded by invisible observers. Within hours, the translation key allowed them to decode the actual message. "Humanity, you have been watched. You have been studied. You have surprised us all. We request dialogue." The message came from an organization calling themselves the Galactic Concordat, a federation of 37 spacefaring civilizations that had been secretly observing Earth for centuries. But unlike traditional first contact scenarios, they weren't primarily interested in Earth's resources or strategic location. They were fascinated by humans themselves. As the initial diplomatic exchanges unfolded over the next few days, the reason became clear. The Concordat's representative, a being that appeared as a shifting mass of crystalline structures calling itself Echo, explained their interest. "In all our centuries of exploration, we have never encountered a species quite like yours," Echo transmitted. "Other species follow predictable paths of development. Their solutions to problems are logical, linear, expected. But humans, you take illogical leaps. You see patterns where none should exist. You solve problems in ways that shouldn't work, yet somehow do." Sarah listened as Echo described how the Concordat had watched humanity's development with increasing fascination. They had observed as humans took seemingly unrelated concepts and combined them in ways no other species had conceived. They had watched as humanity faced disasters and, instead of following expected survival protocols, created entirely new solutions. "Your species turned a devastating plague into a breakthrough in genetic engineering," Echo continued. "You looked at the deadly radiation of your star and turned it into solar power. When faced with the limitation of biological memory, you didn't just create computers, you found ways to interface them directly with your minds. Every time we thought we understood the limits of human innovation, you broke through them in ways we never imagined possible." But it wasn't just humanity's technological innovations that had caught their attention. The Concordat was equally fascinated by human art, music, and storytelling, concepts that many alien species found difficult to grasp. "You create fictional scenarios to solve real problems," Echo explained, its crystalline form shimmering with what seemed like excitement. "You imagine impossible things and then find ways to make them possible. No other species we've encountered has this capability. This ability to dream beyond the bounds of reality, and then reshape reality to match the dream." As Sarah absorbed this information, she began to understand that this wasn't just first contact. It was recognition. Humanity wasn't being evaluated for membership in some galactic community. They were being approached because they had something unique to offer, something the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy had never managed to develop on their own. "We have come with a proposal," Echo announced. "The galaxy faces challenges that our combined logical approaches have failed to solve. We believe humanity's unique way of thinking might be the key to overcoming these obstacles. We offer partnership, not subjugation, an exchange of ideas that could transform both our civilizations." As Commander Chen prepared to transmit this extraordinary information back to Earth, she realized humanity stood at the threshold of its greatest adventure. They weren't just joining the galactic community. They were about to fundamentally change it. The stars had always called to humanity. Now they would answer that call not as supplicants or inferiors, but as equals bringing something unique and valuable to the galaxy. The species that had spent its history looking up at the stars was about to teach those among the stars a new way to see the universe itself. The trial. Dr. Maya Patel stood before the holographic representation of what the Concordat called the impossible star, a massive stellar body that defied all known laws of physics. For 3,000 years, the most brilliant minds of 37 civilizations had failed to explain its existence, let alone find a way to prevent it from destabilizing and destroying 3 inhabited solar systems in its vicinity. Now, they wanted humans to try. You're telling me we have 6 months before this star's unusual properties cause it to collapse? Maya asked, studying the swirling patterns of energy that shouldn't exist. Echo's crystalline form shifted colors in what she had learned was a sign of affirmation. Correct. Traditional models predict total system collapse within that time frame. 17 species have attempted intervention. All failed. Maya smiled, a gesture that still confused many of the alien observers. Then let's try something non-traditional. Get me every human expert in fields that have nothing to do with astrophysics. The request baffled the Concordat representatives, but they complied. Within days, the research station orbiting the impossible star was filled with human experts in fields ranging from fluid dynamics to music theory, from abstract art to deep-sea ecology. The problem isn't that we can't solve it, Maya explained to a gathering of confused alien scientists. The problem is that we're all trying to solve it using the same kind of thinking that created our current understanding of physics. We need to look at it differently. It was Dr. James Chen, a specialist in oceanic currents, who first noticed something familiar in the star's energy patterns. These look like deep-sea thermal vents, he said, pointing to specific energy flows. The way the energy moves, it's not following stellar physics, it's following fluid dynamics. A composer named Sarah Williams built on this observation. The patterns repeat like a musical fugue, she noted, mapping the energy flows to musical notation. It's not random. It's a complex, repeating structure. What emerged over the next few months was something the Concordat had never seen before, a complete reimagining of how stellar physics could work. By combining insights from seemingly unrelated fields, the human team discovered that the impossible star wasn't defying physics. It was operating on principles no one had thought to apply to stellar bodies before. The solution, when it came, was equally unprecedented. Instead of trying to prevent the star's collapse, the human team proposed working with its natural rhythms. They designed a network of gravitational resonators that would amplify certain energy patterns while dampening others, essentially conducting the star's energy like a symphony. You want to turn the star into a musical instrument? Echo asked, its crystalline form flickering with what might have been disbelief. In a manner of speaking, Maya replied, we're not fighting against what makes this star unique. We're using its unique properties to save it. The implementation of their solution required technological assistance from the Concordat, but the fundamental approach was purely human. When the resonator network activated, the impossible star's erratic behavior began to stabilize. Its energy patterns, once chaotic and dangerous, fell into a sustainable rhythm. The success had far-reaching implications. Not only had humans saved 3 solar systems, but they had also introduced an entirely new way of thinking about stellar physics. The Concordat scientists found themselves grappling with concepts that challenged thousands of years of established theory. But it was more than just a scientific achievement. It was proof that humanity's seemingly chaotic, interconnected way of thinking could solve problems that logical, linear approaches couldn't touch. The Concordat had believed humans might be useful. Now they began to understand that humanity might be essential. As Maya watched the star's newly stabilized energy patterns dance across her holographic display, she received a message from Echo. The Concordat requests human assistance with another situation, something we call the eternal storm. We believe your unique perspective might be valuable. Maya smiled again, already wondering what experts from unexpected fields might see in this new challenge. Humanity was just getting started, and the galaxy would never be the same. The crisis. Admiral Marcus Jong stood in the Concordat's Grand Assembly, surrounded by representatives of 37 alien civilizations. The massive chamber, usually filled with diplomatic discussions and scientific debates, now crackled with tension. The holographic displays showing the spread of what the aliens called the void cast an ominous shadow across every face, crystalline structure, and energy form present. "It's consuming everything," the Murith representative, a being of pure light, stated. "Stars, planets, entire systems, just gone. Not destroyed. Erased. As if they never existed." The void had appeared 3 weeks ago on the galaxy's outer rim. It defied every known law of physics, expanding at an impossible rate, leaving absolute nothingness in its wake. No radiation, no particles, no space-time itself. Billions had already been evacuated, but billions more were in its path. Our most advanced computational models predict total galactic consumption within 2 years. Echo reported, its crystalline form dulled with what humans had learned to recognize as deep concern. "We've attempted every known countermeasure. Nothing even slows it." Marcus studied the holographic display, watching as another star system winked out of existence. "Have you tried doing nothing?" he asked. The chamber erupted in confused murmurs. "Clarify," Echo requested. "Well," Marcus continued, "you've tried fighting it, containing it, destroying it. But has anyone tried just letting it happen? On a small scale, controlled environment." The idea was so counterintuitive that it took several minutes to explain the concept to some species. But that was why humans were here, to think in ways others couldn't. Within days, a research station was established at safe distance from the void's edge. Dr. Maya Patel, fresh from her success with the impossible star, led a team of human scientists working alongside the Concordat's finest minds. "Look at that," Maya said, pointing to their first controlled experiment. They had created a miniature version of the void in a contained field. It's not destroying things, it's transforming them. The matter and energy aren't gone. They're being converted into something our sensors can't detect. It was a human theoretical physicist, Dr. Raul Ventura, who made the crucial connection. "It's like a phase transition," he explained. "Like water becoming ice, but on a universal scale. Reality itself is changing state." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source, a human child's cartoon that one of the scientists had been watching during a break. In the show, the characters couldn't affect things in the mirror dimension directly, but they could influence it by changing things in their own dimension. A scientist explained, somewhat embarrassed. But that spark of imagination led to a revolutionary approach. Instead of trying to stop the void, they began working on ways to influence what happened inside it. If reality was changing state, perhaps they could guide that change. The solution, when it came, was quintessentially human, a combination of advanced physics, music theory, and children's television logic. They discovered that by generating specific energy patterns in normal space, they could create corresponding patterns within the void, essentially teaching the transformed reality how to stabilize itself. "We're not stopping it," Maya explained to the Grand Assembly. "We're helping it finish what it's trying to do, but in a way that doesn't erase everything in its path. We're midwifing the birth of a new form of reality." The implementation required the combined resources of every Concordat civilization, but the plan worked. The void's expansion slowed, then stopped, then began to reverse. The transformed regions remained transformed, but they became stable, and eventually, ways were found to communicate with and even travel into these new regions of altered reality. What had seemed like the end of the galaxy became instead the beginning of something entirely new. The discovery of an entirely new state of existence, one that opened up possibilities no one had imagined before. As the crisis subsided, Echo addressed the Grand Assembly. Once again, humanity has shown us that our greatest limitations are not in our capabilities, but in our imagination. Perhaps it is time to reconsider humanity's role in the Concordat. Marcus and Maya exchanged glances. They knew that humanity's influence on galactic civilization was just beginning, and the changes they had triggered would reshape not just the galaxy, but the very nature of reality itself. Revolution of ideas. Ambassador Elena Torres watched in amazement as the Yum Kethara, a species previously known for their rigid adherence to tradition, created an entirely new form of art by combining their natural bioluminescence with human-inspired dance movements. The performance hall, filled with beings from across the Concordat, erupted in a mixture of appreciation and shock. 1 year had passed since the resolution of the Void Crisis, and humanity's influence had spread far beyond scientific and technological achievements. What started as a partnership to solve practical problems had evolved into a cultural revolution that was transforming galactic society. They're calling it chaos theory, Echo explained, its crystalline form shifting through a rainbow of colors that Elena had learned indicated excitement. The idea that disorder can lead to new forms of order. That unpredictability can be a source of strength rather than weakness. It's spreading through the younger generations of every species. The changes were everywhere. The Mirith, beings of pure light who had spent millennia communicating only through precisely calibrated energy patterns, were now experimenting with what they called emotional frequencies. The traditionally hierarchical Gentai had begun reorganizing their society around human-inspired collaborative networks. But not everyone welcomed these changes. "This is madness," declared High Elder Vux of the Quorum, his energy form pulsing with agitation during an emergency session of the Concordat Council. "We are abandoning thousands of years of stable development for what? Chaos, uncertainty, human improvisation." Elena stood to address the council. "What you call chaos, we call creativity. What you see as uncertainty, we recognize as possibility. Yes, change brings risk, but it also brings growth." She gestured to the holographic displays showing the transformations occurring across the galaxy. New forms of art, architecture that combine multiple species aesthetics, hybrid technologies that would have been impossible under the old rigid thinking patterns. "Look at what's happening in education," she continued. "Your species have always taught through direct knowledge transfer. But after seeing how human children learn through play, through mistakes, through exploration, many of your schools are now incorporating these methods. And the results? Problem-solving capabilities have increased exponentially across all participating species." The evidence was undeniable. Societies that embraced human-inspired approaches were advancing at unprecedented rates. The void-transformed regions, once seen as a tragedy, had become thriving centers of innovation where traditional physics didn't apply and new forms of existence could be explored. But perhaps the most profound change was in how the various species began to view failure. Where once a failed attempt meant disgrace and abandonment of an approach, now it was increasingly seen as a step toward success. The human concept of learning from mistakes was revolutionizing everything from scientific research to social organization. "We've discovered something remarkable," a Gentai scientist announced during a symposium on cross-species development. "When we allow ourselves to think like humans, to make intuitive leaps, to connect seemingly unrelated ideas, we can access similar capabilities within ourselves. It's as if humanity has awakened something that was always dormant within us." This revelation led to the establishment of the first cross-species creative institute, where humans taught not specific knowledge or skills, but ways of thinking, of seeing, of imagining. The results were beyond anything anyone had predicted. Yet as these changes spread, tensions grew. Conservative factions within various species began to resist what they saw as the corruption of their pure and logical civilizations. Some even called for limiting contact with humans to prevent further contamination. Elena found herself navigating increasingly complex diplomatic waters. "We're not trying to replace your ways with ours," she explained during a particularly tense council session. "We're showing you that there are more ways than anyone imagined. The goal isn't to make you human. It's to help you discover new possibilities within yourselves." As she spoke, news arrived that would change everything again. In a void-transformed region, a joint human-alien research team had made a discovery that would force every species, humans included, to reevaluate their understanding of not just the galaxy, but of consciousness itself. The revolution of ideas was about to enter a new phase, and no one, not even humanity, could predict where it would lead. The new galaxy. 5 years after humanity's first contact with the Concordat, Dr. Maya Patel stood on the observation deck of the Nexus, a massive space station unlike anything that had existed before. The structure itself was a testament to the new era, a living, breathing fusion of technology and biology, created through the combined insights of dozens of species. Through the quantum glass viewport, she could see the phenomenon that had changed everything yet again. The research team called it the consciousness cascade, a discovery made possible only by the unique conditions within the void-transformed regions and the unprecedented collaboration between human intuition and alien logic. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Admiral Zhang said, joining her at the viewport. The swirling patterns of energy before them pulsed with colors that shouldn't exist in normal spacetime. "More than beautiful," Maya replied. "It's alive, and it's been trying to communicate with us all along." The consciousness cascade had revealed something extraordinary. The universe itself was conscious, and what humans had always called imagination was actually a form of connection to this universal consciousness. This explained humanity's unique ability to make seemingly impossible creative leaps. They had been unconsciously tapping into this greater awareness all along. The revelation had transformed the galaxy in ways no one could have predicted. The conservative factions that had resisted human influence found their arguments dissolving in the face of this greater truth. It wasn't about human chaos versus alien order. It was about finding ways to consciously connect with the living universe itself. The Nexus had become the heart of this new understanding. Here, humans worked alongside beings of pure energy, crystalline entities, and species that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Traditional barriers between disciplines had dissolved. Art became science, science became philosophy, and philosophy became a direct exploration of universal consciousness. "Remember when we thought we were just solving physics problems?" Maya laughed, watching a group of young aliens participating in what looked like a combination of quantum mechanics research and interpretive dance. The new generation of galactic citizens was unlike anything that had come before. They combined the logical precision of traditional alien approaches with human-style creativity and the newly discovered ability to tap into universal consciousness. The results were extraordinary. Diseases that had plagued civilizations for millennia were being cured through approaches that combined advanced technology with intuitive healing. The void-transformed regions, once feared, had become gateways to understanding different states of existence. Even the concept of death was being reevaluated as consciousness itself was better understood. But perhaps the most profound change was in how species saw themselves and each other. The old hierarchies and divisions had given way to a new understanding of interconnectedness. Every species, it turned out, had its own unique way of connecting with universal consciousness. Humans had simply been the key to helping others recognize and develop these abilities. "The Concordat is voting today," Admiral Zhang reminded Maya, "on the proposal to reorganize into the Universal Collective." The new structure would reflect the transformed reality of galactic civilization. No longer a simple federation of species, but a living network of consciousness, working together to explore and expand the boundaries of existence itself. As if on cue, Echo appeared beside them, its crystalline form now incorporating patterns that would have been impossible under its species' traditional development. "It's done," Echo announced. The vote was unanimous. Maya smiled, remembering that first contact message from what seemed like a lifetime ago. Humanity hadn't just joined the galactic community. They had helped transform it into something entirely new. The species that had spent its history looking up at the stars had ended up helping the stars look back at themselves. Through the viewport, the consciousness cascade pulsed with new patterns, as if responding to the historic decision. In that moment, Maya understood that this wasn't an ending. It was barely even a beginning. The real adventure, the true exploration of what was possible when imagination met reality, when consciousness met consciousness, was just starting. The galaxy had changed, and would keep changing. And somewhere out there, in the infinite expanse of space and consciousness, new discoveries were waiting. New impossibilities were waiting to become possible. New dreams were waiting to become reality. The species that changed everything had only just begun to discover what everything could become.